Hey guys, Crispy here. Continuing on with the series, someone asked me to have a little look at the Commandos, so I'm going to take a look at them, and of course, along with them, Boss Snikrot. So I'll start off with the Commandos. So as far as experience goes with Commandos, I did run the Commando formation. I don't remember how many Commandos. I think it was 3 to 5 units of Commandos plus Boss Snikrot. This was obviously in 7th edition. And I it was just for a friendly game. I showed up and my friend was actually running a tank, some sort of tank formation, like a Forge World army. So it was basically just all Lehman Russes. So unfortunately for me, my commandos ended up being quite useless. I think Boss Snikrot tried to kill a tank, but basically they just all got slaughtered. And in that battle I also used the Storm Boy formation, so I dropped down and I didn't get a really long run, so I think I rolled a 1 and then they all got blown up as well. So that's my my 7th edition experience with Commandos. Let's take a look at them in 8th. So as far as movement goes, Commandos are, as far as I can see, the fastest infantry we have. They move 6 inches, which is not too bad. That's pretty good, an extra inch there. Weapon skill wise, they're hitting on 3s. They're shooting wise, they're hitting on 5s. So I mean, that's the same as they were previous edition. Strength wise, they're strength 4, toughness 4, 1 wound, 2 attacks, leadership 6, and a 6+ save. So the 6+ save is a little bit disappointing, but I suppose it's on par with normal Orc boys. As far as points go for these guys, I think they're around about 9 points each, so just a little bit more expensive than your average boy. You can have a unit of 5 of them, and then you can also get up to an additional 10 in a unit, so 15 total. They can be armed with, you can pick 2 of those guys and give them either a big shooter, a burner, or a rocket launcher. As far as I can see, that doesn't actually increase, so like it's not every 5 or anything like that, it's just 2 in total. So I mean, I suppose maybe you might want to run min squads of these guys, like 5 of them with 2 special weapons. They're an elite's choice, so obviously if you're not really using up your elites on other things like knobs and all the rest, then these guys seem pretty cool. They have a few abilities here. So they have Cunning Infiltrators, which allows you to set them up anywhere on the battlefield, but they have to be 9 inches away from enemy models. Obviously this isn't really that great because your counter's moving, so you can't run forward or anything like that, so you're just basically out in the open unless you're deploying in cover or anything like that. And as far as cover goes as well, these guys get +2 to their save, so they have a 4+ save in cover, so that's sort of pretty cool. But your burners are going to be outside of range because they're only range 8 when you first arrive. So you're going to have to, it's going to take you, well, 2 turns before you can bring those burners into action. So, I mean, looking at these guys, I was sort of thinking it probably wouldn't be that bad an idea to run 2 big shooters, depending on the table. But then that way you could take 3 units of 5 of these guys. They only cost fairly little as far as points go. And then you add in, you get what, what's that, 36? Is it 36? Maybe, no, sorry, 18. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself there. 18 big shooter shots for not that much, might be handy. Obviously, if you've got a good, decent enough table with lots of terrain and all the rest, then the burners are always going to be fairly good. Burners aren't like normal flamers, unfortunately, so you only get D3 shots with Orc burners. So that's also another thing to consider. I suppose that's because Orcs can get quite a few burners across the board, so they've toned them down a little bit. But it does hurt a unit like Commandos, who can only really get 2 burners. So, but anyways, so there's your Commandos right there. They got all the rest, the here we go rule, so you get to reroll your failed charges, and also they've got the mob rule, so they can use the leadership of a larger mob nearby. So yeah, so that's basically Commandos. Fairly cheap points wise, as I said, 9 points. You can also add in a boss knob into them. And as far as the upgrades for boss knobs, I asked the Frontline Gaming guys a question about that, and they said that all unless it's specified, all sergeants are free. So you get the boss knob for free. And as far as the boss knob goes, he's hitting on 3s, hitting on 5s with his shooting. He's strength 5, toughness 4, 2 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 7, and a 6+ save. So that's pretty good. Like that's a fairly decent upgrade for nothing. And it doesn't say. I'll have a little look here, see if he gets anything. Does he? He gets access to the choppy weapons list. So you can give him a big chopper or a power claw or something like that, but he himself can't take a combi flamer, unfortunately, a combi scorcher, which would have been pretty awesome in this squad. The other guy I wanted to take a look at is Boss Snikrot. So this guy's actually, he's the cheapest out of all of the HQ options that the orcs have. I think he's 69 points or something, or around about there. Movement wise, again, he's moving as fast as a commando, so he moves 6 inches. He's hitting on 2s. His ballistic skill is he's hitting on 5s. He's strength 6, toughness 4, 6 wounds, 6 attacks, leadership 7, and a 6+ save. So obviously a 6+ save is not very good for a HQ choice, because they can't join squads. You can obviously hide them behind squads to try and because most infantry and units and all the rest, they have to shoot closer units if they can't target HQ choices that way, unless they're armed with sniper rifles. But if anyone's got a sniper rifle and they can see Boss Snikrot and he's out in the open, he's probably going to be toast pretty quickly. As far as weapons go, he's armed with Mork's Teeth. This is strength user, so strength 6 attacks, AP -1 and 2 damage each. Pretty solid, really. I mean, 2 damage each is pretty good. And so, I mean, with your other HQ choices, they're all strength 6 anyway, and when you give them the big chopper, they're going to be strength 8. So, yeah, it's okay. It's not too bad. The 2 damage is the main thing. This guy, if someone rolls fairly unlucky with their Terminators or whatever, you'll be killing a Terminator with every stab, so that's pretty cool. Let's have a look at his abilities here. So he's got the Here We Go, so he can re-roll failed charges. The mob rule again, so he uses the leadership as the number of larger mobs nearby sort of thing. So 20 orcs nearby, this guy will be leadership 20. He's got the sneakiest git rule, which means that when he's in cover he gets 3 added to his save, so that's pretty cool. So you suddenly got a 3+ save on this guy as long as he's in cover. He also has the cunning infiltrator rule, the same as the commandos, which allows him to set up outside of 9 inches from enemy models. Again, you get that reroll for the charges. It's possible to get a first turn charge with this guy. The other thing he has is if you're Blood Axe as far as your clan goes, then he gives all Blood Axe commandos rerolls of a 1 to hit in the fight phase. So that's pretty cool if you're going to go with Blood Axes and a heavy commando army, which, I mean, it's pretty cool. That'd be a pretty cool army, and you could deploy all over the place, really. Might be pretty strong in certain objective games. And he also has the Terrifying Killer rule, which minuses the leadership of enemy units by 1, effectively. So when they take a morale test, they just add 1 to whatever they rolled. So if they've lost 7 guys, they roll the d6, they get a 3, and then they add an additional 1 on top, and then you subtract your leadership, and that's how many models are lost on top of whatever you killed. So that's a pretty cool ability. It's the only one that I've seen so far in the Ork Codex. So there's no, unfortunately, there's no real sort of leadership bomb tactics that you can use with this. But who knows, maybe when they release the codex or whatever, they might give Red Skulls some more stuff around that, and then we could do some interesting stuff with it. So that's Boss Snikrot. He's cheap. He's got a decent save and cover. You can put him anywhere on the table as long as it's 9 inches away from enemies. And Mork's Teeth aren't too bad as far as a close combat weapon goes. 2 damage each is not nothing to sort of sniff at, So yeah, fairly decent choices. And as I said, super cheap, and even commandos aren't very expensive. I mean, 9 points a model. You've got so much mobility, really. The only thing is, it's just not very survivable, which is the same as they were last edition, really. So yeah, so I personally, I'm super excited. I'm thinking of running Boss Snikrot with a unit of three min squads of commandos, probably just 5, and I will probably run big shooters just to give them a go. I've run some little testing and stuff, and I think that you could chip off a few wounds here and there with that. So anyways guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Obviously if you did, like and subscribe. Leave anything in the comments if I missed anything. As I said previously in other videos, I'm still learning all of this. Yeah, and thanks for listening. See you guys.